Gia stood before the High Council, her 4 slender arms held perfectly still at her sides. The 7 elders of the Ravi Empire looked down at her from their raised platforms. Their skin shimmered with the pale blue glow that marked their species. "Xenobiologist Gia, you have been selected for a mission of great importance," said Elder Mun, his voice flat and emotionless. Gia bowed her head. "I am honored to serve the Empire." The main screen behind the council lit up with images of the species Gia had studied many times before. Humans. Their soft, pink skin, their strange 2-armed bodies, and their expressive faces were both fascinating and primitive to Ravi eyes. "Humans," said Elder Mun, "have become a problem." This wasn't news to Gia. The Ravi Empire had conquered 12 systems in the past 50 years. Most species surrendered quickly when faced with superior Ravi technology. But humans fought back in unexpected ways. They were unpredictable. "We need to understand them better before the full invasion," said Elder Q, the oldest of the council. "Their weaknesses, their breaking points. You will help us find these." Gia nodded. "What exactly is my mission?" "Capture a single human specimen," said Elder Mun. "Study it. Learn how they think. Find what makes them break." Gia was surprised. "A live capture? That is unusual." "Yes," agreed Elder Q. "But necessary. You were chosen because of your special ability." Gia touched the small organ at the base of her throat, her empathic gland. It was rare among the Ravi. Most had evolved past the need to sense emotions. Emotions were considered primitive, a weakness the Ravi had engineered out of themselves centuries ago. But some Ravi, like Gia, were born with functioning empathic glands, allowing them to sense the emotional states of other species. Such Ravi were valuable as scientists and spies. "You will feel what the human feels," said Elder Mun. "This will help you find their weaknesses faster." Gia felt a small flicker of something inside her, excitement perhaps. She quickly suppressed it. Such reactions were inappropriate for a Ravi. "When do I leave?" she asked. "Immediately. Our scouts have identified a suitable target, a human male working alone on terraforming equipment on the moon of Elton IV. He is isolated. Taking him will not alert their authorities." The screen changed to show a human male. He had dark hair and eyes, and skin with a golden tone. He was working on some kind of machine, his hands moving quickly and skillfully over the parts. "His name is Ta," said Elder Q. "He is a terraforming engineer. Not a soldier, but still physically strong. A good specimen for study." Gia studied the image carefully. There was something about the way the human moved, with such purpose and energy. Most species showed fear when working in dangerous conditions. This one showed something else: determination. "You will have 3 moon cycles to complete your research," said Elder Mun. "The invasion fleet will be ready by then. We need your findings to prepare our forces." "I understand," said Gia. "I will not fail." As she left the council chamber, Gia thought about her mission. She had studied humans through recordings and reports, but never met one in person. She wondered what it would be like to sense their emotions directly. Humans were said to feel things very strongly: joy, fear, anger, love. These were concepts the Ravi understood only as abstract ideas, not experiences. Gia boarded her research vessel later that day. As the ship's engines powered up, she reviewed the file on her target again. Ta, human male, terraforming engineer. Soon she would know much more about him. And through him, she would help the Ravi Empire finally conquer the troublesome human species. The stars stretched into lines as her ship jumped to light speed, carrying her toward her destiny. The small moon of Elton IV was cold and windy. Gia's ship landed silently behind a ridge of sharp rocks, hidden from the human outpost. She checked her scanner again. The human, Tai, was working alone at a terraforming station 2 kilometers away. Perfect. Gia put on her adaptive suit, which would protect her from the harsh air and help her blend into the rocky landscape. She loaded her stun weapon and slipped a breathing mask over her face. Then she stepped out of her ship into the alien world. The walk was difficult. The ground was uneven, and small ice storms kept blowing through the valley. But Jia moved steadily toward the human outpost, her 4 arms helping her balance on the rough terrain. As she got closer, she activated her empathic gland. Immediately, she felt a wave of something. It was strong and warm. Was this what humans call satisfaction? The feeling of doing good work. Interesting. The outpost was a simple metal building with large machines around it. These machines pumped gases into the thin atmosphere, slowly making the moon more livable. Jia watched from behind a large rock as Ta moved between the machines, checking readings and fixing parts. He worked with quick, sure movements. Unlike the careful precision of Ravi engineers, Tai seemed to have a natural flow to his work. Sometimes he even hummed or whistled, making music while he worked. Such a strange concept. Jia waited for 3 hours, studying his patterns. When Tai went inside the small building for food, she made her move. She crept to the main air processor and planted a small device on it. The device would cause a minor failure, nothing dangerous, but enough to bring Tai outside to fix it. Then she hid again and waited. Soon, alarms beeped from inside the building. Tai rushed out, looking concerned. He went straight to the air processor and began examining it. Jia felt his emotions change, from calm to worried, then to focused determination. Such clear, strong feelings. The Ravi would consider this a weakness, but Jia found it fascinating. As Ta bent down to check the lower panel, Jia moved silently behind him. She raised her stun weapon and fired. The blue energy beam hit Ta directly. He made a small sound of surprise before falling forward, unconscious but unharmed. Jia quickly checked his vital signs. The stun had worked perfectly. He would stay unconscious for about 2 hours. Enough time to get him to her ship. She lifted him easily. Though Ravi looked slender, they were much stronger than humans. Tai felt light in her 4 arms. As she carried him back to her ship, Jia studied his face. His features were nothing like the sharp angles of Ravi faces. His skin was soft and warm, even in the cold air. And he had so much hair. Short, dark hair on his head, and even thin hair on his face. Ravi had no hair at all. Back at her ship, Jia placed Tai in the secure research room. She attached monitors to his body to track his vital signs. His heart beat steadily, much faster than a Ravi heart. She noted this in her research log. Subject acquired without incident, she recorded. Physical condition excellent. Beginning detailed study when subject regains consciousness. Jia sat back and watched the human breathe. Such a simple creature, really. Just another species for the Empire to study and eventually rule. So why did she feel so curious about him? Before she could consider this strange thought, the monitors beeped. Tai was waking up sooner than expected. His heartbeat grew stronger and faster. Jia prepared herself. This was the dangerous part. Most captured species panicked when they woke up in a strange place. Tai's eyes opened. They were dark brown, almost black. For a moment, he looked confused. Then his eyes found Jia, and they widened. But what Jia felt from him wasn't fear. It was wonder. "You're not human," were Ta's first words. His voice was steady, despite the situation. Jia stood perfectly still, all 4 of her arms at her sides. "No, I am Ravi. My name is Jia." Tai tried to sit up, then noticed the restraints holding him to the examination table. He pulled against them once, testing their strength, then relaxed. "Why am I here?" he asked. "For study," said Jia. She moved closer, watching his reactions carefully. "I am a xenobiologist. I study other species." Ta looked around the room, taking in the clean white walls and strange equipment. "So I'm a lab rat." Jia didn't understand the term, but she understood his meaning. "Yes, you are a test subject." To her surprise, Ta smiled. It was a small smile, but it changed his whole face. Jia felt a wave of emotion from him that confused her. It wasn't fear or anger. It felt almost like acceptance. "Well," said Tai, "I've been in worse situations." Jia tilted her head. "This does not frighten you." "Oh, I'm scared," said Ta. "But being scared doesn't help anything." Fascinating. Jia made notes on her datapad. Most species showed only fear when captured. This human acknowledged his fear, but didn't let it control him. "I will run tests," she told him. "Physical tests first, then mental ones." Ta nodded. "Will they hurt?" "Some might be uncomfortable," said Jia honestly. "But we don't need to damage you." "Good to know," said Ta dryly. Over the next few days, Jia ran many tests. She measured how fast Tai could run on a treadmill. She tested how much weight he could lift. She put him in a chamber that changed temperature from very hot to very cold to see how his body adapted. Through it all, Tai remained calm. He answered her questions and did what she asked without fighting. But he also asked his own questions. "Why do you need to know this?" he asked during a strength test. Jia saw no reason to lie. "The Ravi Empire is preparing to expand. Your species has proven difficult to understand." Ta lifted the heavy weight again. "You mean we're hard to conquer?" "Yes." "And you're looking for weaknesses?" "Yes." Ta set down the weight and looked directly at her. "You won't find them this way." On the 5th day, Jia began the stress tests. These were designed to push Ta to his mental limits. She created simulations of dangerous situations, a fire, a flood, a collapsing building, and monitored his vital signs. The results puzzled her. "Your heartbeat increases during danger," she said, reviewing the data. "That is normal. But it gets stronger, not weaker. And your brain activity shows unusual patterns." Ta sat on the edge of the examination table, drinking water. The last simulation had been particularly intense. "What did you expect to happen?" "Most species show signs of giving up when stress becomes too great," said Jia. "Their systems begin to shut down. They accept their fate." Ta laughed. The sound was strange to Jia's ears. Ravi never laughed. "That's not how humans work," he said. "When things get bad, we fight harder." "Why?" asked Jia. She truly didn't understand. "Hope," said Ta simply. "Hope. The belief that things can get better. That we can make them better." Jia searched her knowledge of languages. "We have no word for this concept." "That explains a lot," said Ta. He looked at her curiously. "Don't you ever feel hope?" "Ravi do not feel," said Jia automatically. "Emotions are primitive responses. We evolved beyond them." But even as she said it, Jia felt something stir inside her. Her empathic gland was active, picking up Ta's emotions, but it seemed to be creating echoes in her own mind. Faint, but present. It was disturbing and fascinating. "What will you do when your tests are finished?" asked Ta. Jia hesitated. "I will report my findings to the Empire." And then? She didn't answer. She didn't need to. They both knew what would happen next. Invasion. 2 weeks had passed since Jia captured Ta. The research room had slowly changed. Now there were books, digital texts about Earth that Jia had in her ship's library. There was a small table where they sometimes ate meals together. The restraints were gone. Ta was still locked in, but he could move freely around the room. Jia told herself these changes were to make her subject more comfortable, which would give better test results. But deep down, she knew there was another reason. She enjoyed talking to him. "Tell me about your home," she said one day as they sat at the small table. "Not the data. Tell me what it feels like." Ta looked surprised but pleased. "Earth? It's beautiful. Messy, but beautiful. We have oceans so big you can't see the other side. Mountains that touch the clouds. Deserts, jungles, icelands, everything. We have records of all Earth environments," said Jia. "But you speak of them differently." "Because they mean something to us," said Ta. They're not just places. They're part of us. Gia tried to understand. The Ravi didn't feel connected to places this way. They saw planets as resources, not homes. What about your world? Asked Ta. What's it like? Gia hesitated. Sharing information about the Ravi homeworld was not part of her mission, but she found herself wanting to answer. Orderly, she said finally. Everything is planned. Cities are built in perfect patterns. Every Ravi has a place and purpose. Sounds boring, said Todd with a small smile. Efficiency is not boring, said Jia, but she didn't sound convinced. Later that day, Jia had to send her weekly report to the Ravi command. She sat at her control panel, reviewing her notes. She had pages of data about human biology, strength tests, and stress responses. But when she wrote her report, she left things out. She didn't mention how humans seem to grow stronger when facing challenges, not weaker. She didn't report that Tay's heartbeat became steadier during stress tests, showing remarkable control. And she certainly didn't mention her own growing interest in human emotions. After sending the report, Jia went back to the research room. Tide was doing exercises, push-ups on the floor. She watched him for a moment. Your report done? He asked without stopping. Yes. Did you tell them everything? Jia froze. How did he know? What do you mean? Ta stood up and faced her. I've been watching you, too, Jia. You're not like the other Ravi you've described. You're curious. Not just for data. You actually want to understand. Jia felt her empathic gland warm up. She was picking up his emotions. Concern, interest, and something else. Something warm and gentle. Understanding other species helps us conquer them, she said, repeating what she had been taught. Is that what you want? To help conquer humans? The question hung in the air between them. Jia had never questioned her purpose before. Ravi did not question. They obeyed. But now, doubts crept into her mind. What is your family like? She asked, changing the subject. Todd let her avoid the question. Small, just my parents and younger sister. My father builds things, like me. My mother teaches children. My sister studies stars. Do you miss them? Asked Jia. Every day, said Ta. His voice grew soft. That's another human thing. We form strong bonds. Family, friends, even places. They become part of us. Jia thought about the Ravi. They reproduced by careful genetic selection. Children were raised by the community, not by specific parents. The concept of missing someone, it was alien to her. But as she stood there, watching Tai's face grow sad with memories, she felt something new inside herself. A small pain, an echo of his feelings. For the first time, Jia wondered if the Ravi had lost something important when they gave up emotions. And she wondered what would happen if they destroyed this strange, feeling species that was making her question everything. The Ravi Empire has conquered 12 systems in the past 50 years, said Jia. She was showing Tai a star map on her datapad. All fell quickly once we understood their weaknesses. Tai studied the map. Small blue dots marked worlds now under Ravi control. A red dot showed Earth and its colonies. And now it's our turn, he said quietly. Yes. They sat in silence for a moment. 3 weeks had passed since Ta's capture. Tomorrow, Jia would need to submit her final report. Why are you showing me this? Asked Ta. Jia wasn't sure herself. I want you to understand the power of the Empire. You want to scare me, said Ta. He wasn't angry. He stated it as a fact. Perhaps, admitted Jia. Fear might make you tell me something useful. Ta smiled slightly. It won't work, but I'll tell you something anyway. He leaned forward. Your empire is making a mistake. Jia tilted her head. Explain. The Ravi think they understand humans from your tests, but you don't. Ta's voice grew stronger. We aren't like those other species you conquered. All species fight when threatened, said Jia. All eventually surrender when they see they cannot win. That's where you're wrong, said Ta. Humans don't need to believe we can win to keep fighting. We just need to believe we should fight. Jia didn't understand. That is not logical. No, it's not, agreed Ta. But it's true. Throughout our history, humans have fought against impossible odds. Sometimes we've lost, but we never, ever just give up. Jia's empathic gland was active now, picking up Ta's emotions. She felt his certainty, his determination. It was powerful. The Empire has better technology, more ships, more weapons, said Jia. So did many enemies we faced before, said Ta. Do you know how many times humans have nearly destroyed themselves? We've had world wars, plagues, climate disasters. Each time, people said we wouldn't survive. Each time, we did. Jia was silent, taking in his words. And there's something else you should know, continued Ta. Humans unite against outside threats. Right now, we have countries and colonies that fight with each other. But the moment the Ravi attack, all those fights will stop. Instantly. We'll become one force. The reports say humans are divided, said Jia. We are, until we're not, said Ta. It's another thing that doesn't make logical sense, but it's how we work. We argue, we fight, we compete, but threaten all of us. We stand together. Jia walked to the window of the research room. Outside, stars streaked by as her ship moved through space. She had begun to feel strange lately. Echoes of Ta's emotions stayed with her, even when she wasn't using her empathic abilities. She found herself thinking differently, questioning things. Let me show you something, she said suddenly. She tapped on her data pad and brought up a file. It was the Ravi invasion plan for the Earth system. She shouldn't be showing him this. It was against all rules. But something inside her wanted him to see, to understand. This is how the Empire will attack, she said. 3 waves. First, disable your communication systems. Second, destroy your military bases. Third, target largest population centers until surrender. Tay's face grew pale as he studied the plans. His heartbeat, which Jia could now sense without instruments, grew faster but remained strong. Your leaders should surrender quickly to minimize losses, said Jia. Tad looked up at her, his dark eyes intense. They won't. It would be the logical choice. We won't give up our freedom, Jia, no matter the cost. As she watched his face, Jia felt something she had never experienced before, a strange respect for this human's determination, and something else, a growing doubt about the rightness of the Empire's plans. Then many will die, she said softly. Yes, agreed Ta. On both sides. For the first time, Jia truly wondered if the Ravi Empire might be making a terrible mistake. The message from Ravi Command appeared on Jia's screen. Final report required within 6 hours. Invasion preparations entering final phase. Jia stared at the words. For the past day, she had been trying to write her report, but the words wouldn't come. What should she tell the High Council? The truth. That humans were stronger than expected. That they would fight until the last person. That the Ravi might win, but at a terrible cost. Or should she lie? Say humans were weak, easy to break. Neither choice felt right. She walked to the research room, where Tai was sitting on his bed, reading one of the books she had given him. My final report is due today, she said. Ta closed the book. What will you tell them? I don't know. For the first time in her life, Jia felt truly confused. If I tell them everything I've learned, they will change their plans. Make the attack more efficient, more deadly. And if you don't, then I betray my people. Jia's 4 hands moved restlessly. I was made to serve the Empire. It is my purpose. Ta stood up and walked to her. Is it, or is your purpose to learn, to understand? Jia had no answer. There's something I need to check in the engine room, she said finally. I will return soon. She needed time to think. Away from Tai, away from the confusing feelings that rose in her whenever they spoke. In the engine room, Jia ran simple tests. The familiar work calmed her mind. As she finished, she noticed the time. Only 3 hours remained until her report was due. She had to decide. When she returned to the research room, she found it empty. Tai was gone. For a moment, Jia stood frozen in shock. The door was still locked. How had he escaped? Fear gripped her. If he damaged her ship or sent a message to Earth, the empathic connection she had formed with Tai helped her. She closed her eyes and focused. Where was he? What was he feeling? There, a strong pulse of determination and fear. He was in the communication room. Jia ran through the ship's corridors. When she reached the communication room, she found Tai hunched over the main console. He had somehow bypassed the language controls and was typing rapidly. "Stop," she shouted. Tai turned. His face was grim but calm. "I have to warn them, Jia." "How did you escape the room?" she asked, moving closer. "I watched you enter the code many times," said Tai. "Humans are good at patterns." Jia could stop him. She was stronger, faster. She could stun him with her weapon. But she didn't move. "The High Council will know it was you who helped me," said Tai. "What will they do to you?" "It doesn't matter," said Jia. And she realized she meant it. Something had changed in her these past weeks. The emptiness that all Ravi lived with, the space where emotions had once been, was filling with something new. Something warm and uncertain and frightening. "You're different from the others," said Tai. "Yes," agreed Jia. "And I don't understand why." Tai looked at her with those expressive human eyes. "I think you're remembering what your people forgot." The screen beeped. Tai's message was ready to send. One button would alert Earth to the coming danger. Jia made her decision. "Send it," she said. Tai's eyes widened. "You're sure?" "No," said Jia. "But I think it's right." Tai pressed the button. The message shot through space toward Earth. It would arrive in minutes. "What now?" asked Tai. Before Jia could answer, alarms blared throughout the ship. Red lights flashed. A computerized voice spoke. "Alert. Unauthorized transmission detected. Security protocols activated. Ravi patrol ship responding." Jia looked at the scanner. A Ravi military vessel was changing course, heading toward them. They had detected Tai's message. "Now," said Jia, "we run." "We need to get to the escape pod," said Jia, grabbing Tai's arm. She pulled him away from the communication console. "Can't we outrun them in this ship?" Tai asked as they hurried through the corridor. "No, they will track this ship's engine signature. But a small pod might slip away." Jia's 4 hands moved quickly, typing codes into door panels as they passed. "I know a way to mask the pod's signature." The ship's computer kept announcing warnings. "Ravi patrol ship will arrive in 15 minutes. All crew prepare for inspection." Tai followed Jia to the lower level of the ship. Here, a small escape pod was attached to the main vessel. It was designed for emergencies, small, but with enough supplies for one Ravi to survive for several weeks. "It will be tight for 2, said Jia. Tai smiled despite the danger. "We'll manage." As Jia prepared the pod, Tai asked the question that had been on his mind. "Why are you doing this? Why help me?" Jia's hands paused. "I don't know," she said honestly. "Nothing in my training explains it." "Try," said Tai. "Please, I need to understand." Jia looked at him. His heartbeat was strong and steady, even now. She could feel it through her empathic sense. "When the Ravi evolved, we made a choice," she said. "Our ancestors believed emotions made us weak, made us irrational. So they used science to change us." "They removed emotions?" asked Tai. "Not exactly. They disconnected them. The feelings still exist in our biology, but most Ravi cannot access them. Only those with active empathic glands, like me, can sense emotions, and only from other species." "That's why you were chosen for this mission," said Tai, understanding now. "Yes, but something unexpected happened." Jia put a hand to her throat, where her empathic gland was located. The more I felt your emotions, the more they awakened something in me, like echoes of feelings I should not have. Your own emotions, said Ta softly. Perhaps. I feel conflict, doubt, confusion. She looked at him, and concern. For you, for your people, this should not be possible. Ta stepped closer. Your people made a mistake, Jia. They thought emotions were a weakness, but they're not. They're a strength. How can confusion be a strength? Asked Jia. Because it means you're questioning, growing, changing. That's what humans do best. We change, adapt, question everything, even ourselves. A loud clang echoed through the ship. The patrol vessel had arrived sooner than expected. They were attaching to the main airlock. We need to go now, said Jia urgently. She finished programming the escape pod. Just as they were about to enter the pod, the ship's intercom activated. A cold, ravey voice spoke. Research Vessel 7 Delta. This is Patrol Commander Kun. Prepare for boarding. We detected an unauthorized transmission to Earth sector. All crew will be questioned. Jia froze. Commander Kun was known for his ruthless efficiency. If he caught them, he will have a full squad with him, she whispered. At least 10 soldiers. Can we hide? Asked Ta. No, they will scan the ship completely. Jia looked at the escape pod. Our only chance is to launch before they complete docking. Ta nodded. Then let's go. They entered the small pod. It was indeed tight, designed for one Ravi, not a Ravi and a human. They had to press close together. Jia could feel Ta's heart beating rapidly now, but still strong. That heartbeat had become important to her, a rhythm she had come to rely on, to care about. As Jia prepared to launch the pod, the enormity of what she was doing hit her. She was betraying her people, everything she had been taught, her entire purpose. And yet it felt right. I may be the first Ravi in generations to feel true emotions, she said quietly, and I'm using them to betray my own kind. Ta placed his hand over hers. No, you're using them to save lives, on both sides. Jia looked into his eyes and felt something new and powerful rise within her. She hit the launch button. The escape pod shot away from the research ship with a violent jolt. Jia and Ta were pressed together in the small space as the engines fired at full power. They're following us, said Jia, looking at the small radar screen. The patrol ship had detached from her research vessel and was now in pursuit. Can they catch us? Asked Ta. Yes, their ship is faster. Jia's 4 hands moved quickly over the controls. But I know something they don't. She guided the pod toward a dense field of space debris, remnants of an old battle between mining corporations. The floating metal pieces created a dangerous maze. This field doesn't appear on standard Ravi maps, explained Jia. I discovered it during my research missions. Ta watched as she steered the small pod between large chunks of twisted metal. Won't our pod be damaged too? It might, admitted Jia. But I know the pattern. They don't. Behind them, the patrol ship slowed as it approached the debris field. A communication signal beeped on Jia's console. Xenobiologist Jia, came Commander Kun's cold voice. Return to your vessel immediately. You have violated multiple laws of the Empire. The human must be eliminated as a security risk. Jia didn't respond. She focused on navigating through the dangerous field, her hands steady despite the danger. What happens if we get through this? Asked Ta. Where can we go? There's a small mining outpost at the edge of this system, said Jia. It's used by many species. We might find transport there. And then? Jia hesitated. I don't know. I have never planned beyond my missions before. The patrol ship had entered the debris field now, moving slowly but steadily. Its scanners were powerful enough to track their pod even through the metal interference. They're still gaining, said Ta. Suddenly, a beam of energy shot past their pod, missing by meters. The patrol ship was firing on them. Hold on, said Jia. She made a sharp turn around a large piece of debris, then cut the engines completely. The pod drifted silently, hidden behind the large metal chunk. The patrol ship moved past their hiding spot, its scanners momentarily confused. "That won't fool them for long," whispered Jia. She was right. Within minutes, the patrol ship had turned around and was heading directly toward their position. "Jia, this is your last warning," came Commander Kun's voice. "Surrender now or be destroyed." Ta looked at Jia. "Do they know about the invasion plans? That you showed them to me?" "No," said Jia. "They only know I helped send a message to Earth. If they capture us, they will search my mind with machines. They will learn everything. Then we can't let them take us," said Ta firmly. Jia restarted the engines. "There's a gap in the debris field ahead. If we can reach it, we might be able to outrun them in open space long enough to reach the mining outpost." She guided the pod forward, moving faster now. The patrol ship adjusted course to follow. Another energy beam hit a piece of debris near them, sending fragments slamming into their pod. Warning lights flashed on the control panel. "Hull damage," said Jia. "We're losing pressure." Ta moved to the small repair kit attached to the wall and grabbed a sealing patch. With quick movements, he applied it to a crack that had formed on the side of the pod. "That will hold for now," he said. The gap in the debris field was visible ahead. Open space, their chance for escape. But the patrol ship was closing in fast. "We're not going to make it," said Jia, her voice tight. Ta looked at the radar screen, then at the controls. "What if we use that?" He pointed to a large cluster of debris directly in their path. "Hit it deliberately," asked Jia. "It would damage us severely. But it would create a cloud of smaller debris behind us," said Ta. "Like a shield." Jia understood immediately. It was risky, possibly fatal. But it was their only chance. "Hold on to something," she said, and aimed directly for the cluster. The impact was brutal. The pod shuddered and spun. More warning lights flashed. But behind them, the debris cluster exploded into thousands of smaller pieces, creating a chaotic cloud between them and the patrol ship. Through the spinning, Jia managed to stabilize the pod and direct it toward the gap. Behind them, the patrol ship had to slow down significantly to navigate the new debris field. They shot into open space, damaged but free. For now, the mining outpost appeared as a cluster of lights against the darkness of space. Jia guided their damaged pod toward the docking area, her four hands moving carefully over the controls. "Will they welcome us here?" asked Ta. His face was tired but determined. "This outpost serves many species," said Jia. "They don't ask questions if you can pay." "And can we pay?" Jia touched a small pouch at her waist. "I have universal credits, enough to get transport to a border world." The pod shuddered as they approached the docking bay. The damage from their escape was worse than they had thought. Warning lights flashed across the control panel. "We're losing power," said Jia. "The engines are failing." Ta moved closer, looking at the controls. "Can we make it?" "I think so. If we—" A loud alarm cut her off. The radar screen showed a new signal approaching fast. "The patrol ship," said Jia. "They found us." Tay's heartbeat quickened, but remained strong. Jia could feel it through her empathic sense. That steady rhythm had become her anchor in the chaos of the past days. "We need to warn the outpost," said Ta. "The Ravi might attack it to get to us." Jia opened a communication channel to the outpost. "Mining Station Delta, this is Research Pod 7 Delta 2. We request emergency docking. We are being pursued by a Ravi patrol ship with hostile intent." There was a pause, then a gruff voice answered. "Research Pod, this is Delta Station. Proceed to Emergency Dock 3. Be advised we are preparing defensive measures." The mining outpost's lights changed, and Jia could see defense shields activating. Small patrol ships launched from its bays. "The outpost is not defenseless," said Jia with surprise. "Good," said Ta, "but we need to hurry." Jia guided their pod toward Emergency Dock 3. Behind them, the Ravi patrol ship was closing in quickly. "They're going to catch us before we dock," said Jia. Ta looked at her. In his eyes, she saw not fear but resolve. "Then we need to make sure your people learn the truth." "What do you mean?" "Record a message," said Ta. "Tell them what you've learned about humans. Tell them what you've discovered about yourself. Maybe it will make a difference." Jia understood. It was their last chance to prevent the war, to make the Ravi understand what they were facing. She activated the recording system. For a moment, she wasn't sure what to say. All her life, she had followed rules, completed missions, served the Empire. Now she was about to speak against everything she had known. "Ravi High Council," she began. "I am xenobiologist Jia. What I have learned about humans cannot be summarized in simple weakness reports. They are not like the other species we have conquered. They are different in ways we cannot fully understand because we have forgotten what it means to feel." As she spoke, Tai watched the radar. The patrol ship was nearly upon them. "Our ancestors made a choice to disconnect from emotions," continued Jia. "They believed it made us stronger. But I have discovered it has made us blind. We cannot understand species like humans because we cannot comprehend what drives them." She looked at Ta. "They do not fight for logic or efficiency. They fight for each other, for their homes, for invisible things like freedom and hope. And this makes them stronger than any technology we possess." The pod shook as the patrol ship locked a tractor beam on them. They were being pulled away from the outpost. "If you proceed with the invasion," said Jia, her voice growing urgent, "you will win battles but lose more than you can imagine. I have felt what we lost when we gave up our emotions, and I have found something worth protecting." She ended the transmission and sent it on all Ravi frequencies. It would reach not just the patrol ship but the entire fleet. "Will it make a difference?" asked Ta. "I don't know," said Jia honestly. "But it's the truth." The pod systems were failing now. The tractor beam pulled them steadily toward the patrol ship. But suddenly, a series of small explosions erupted around them. The mining outpost's defense ships had engaged the Ravi vessel. The tractor beam flickered and died. "Now," shouted Ta. Jia directed the last of their power to the engines. The pod lurched forward toward the outpost. They hit the emergency dock hard but safely. As station personnel rushed to secure their pod, Jia looked at Ta. His heartbeat was quick but steady, always steady. "What now?" she asked. Tai took her hand. "Now we find our own path." And for the first time in her life, Jia smiled. A real smile, born of real emotion. Whatever came next, she would face it with this strange human whose heartbeat had changed her destiny.